Hey guys, first regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about every single class in Space Marine 2 patch 11.0 and tier listing them. Now, in this patch, all the classes are in a pretty good spot. I don't think there is one that's like severely underperforming or anything like that, but some of them are definitely overperforming, and we'll talk about that today. Now, the criteria for this list is their overall performance in the game, not talking about like a specific mode like True Solo or Siege mode, so we'll make sure people are aware of that. And the first class we have up here is Assault. Now, a lot of people think Assault is in a terrible spot still because he was terrible at the launch of the game, but he is no longer bad. In fact, if we're talking like True Solo Siege, this guy is just S tier. He's a top tier class for sure for that mode. His Nova damage is godly. Being able to wipe out Extremis in one shot will simply save your life in a lot of boss fights in this game, because the thing that actually kills you in Space Marine 2 most of the time is getting stun locked during a boss fight, and the fact he can completely avoid that is top tier. Now, he did get his overcharge perk fixed in the patch 11.0, which means his block fist will now do more damage than ever, and the block power fist is an incredibly powerful tool in this game, by far the best melee weapon currently, even with the newly buffed power axe. And overall, the fact he has this incredible boss killing tool on top of mobility, on top of Nova damage, is just really, really good for all content in Space Marine 2. Now, unfortunately, the Assault does kind of lack any type of ammo economy or ammo regen. That is pretty bad for him. Classes like Tactical have this, classes like Heavy have this, and Bulwark, which is the other melee class that's locked to only a secondary. And on top of that, he doesn't really have like a proper damage reduction perk in this game outside of Hammer of Wrath for like a 30% range damage reduction, which is not bad. Like, a lot of his damage reduction does come from like armor regen and things like that, but it's still just not as good as it could be. But that being said, I would still put him in a very high A. He's not quite like the level of S, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as to why and like which classes are, but he is very strong. His Nova damage is top tier, and in Siege mode for True Solo, he's definitely S tier, but in like overall, I put him in A. So I think it's a pretty good spot for him. Next up, we have the Sniper class. Now, Sniper is a weird class in that he is now worse than he used to be. He used to have access to the Camo Cloak cancel, which would let him be immortal pretty much the entire game if he probably did the input. They did remove that for like good reason, to be honest, because it was completely overpowered, but he's still in a pretty good spot. His Nova damage is quite powerful. He can one-shot Zoanthropes and stuff like that, but to be honest, his Horde clear is kind of lacking outside of his signature perk with the Melt-A-Bomb spam. If you don't find a Melt-A-Bomb in your match, he will definitely perform worse than he would otherwise. In Siege mode, his time to kill is not as good as it could be for things like Horde control, and his push time or clear time is just not as good as all the other classes. And overall, any class in this game that is like completely focused on single target damage is just not going to be as good as the other classes at the moment, because all of them can do single target damage pretty well, and they also have great Horde control. So I would probably say he's in a low A. This class is just not as good as he used to be. He's still very strong, like, don't get me wrong, the Sniper is in a pretty good spot. None of the classes are severely underperforming, like I said before. He's just not quite as strong as some of the other ones, in my opinion. Now, his ammo economy is quite good, and he also has a pretty good selection of weapons. So both Sniper Rifle and Last Fusel are both pretty damn strong. Bolt Carbine is also great for close range, and being able to Camo Cloak when all of your teammates are down to res them is very powerful. I just think the fact that his Horde control is not super good, on top of the other classes having great single target damage and Horde control, does put them a little above him. But you know, if you want to put him a little higher, because Purification for HP regen is also very powerful and his weapons do one-shot a lot of enemies, he definitely could. You know, he is better in some scenarios than others, which is why it can be a little hard to tier list all the classes at times. But you know, this is just my opinion, so we'll see if you agree. Let me know in the comments below. Next class we have here is the Tactical. Now, Tactical is just S tier, okay? I'm just gonna say right now, he is S tier for any team comp. His team impact is like second to none in this game, in my opinion. He is able to give you 60-second Melt-A-Bombs, crack grenades, shock grenades, and frags for your entire team. A global equipment recharge is god tier for a team perk. On top of that, he also has the Auspex, and Auspex is simply like number one in boss murder. Being able to put down a precise calibration concentrated fire Auspex will simply win you encounters all on its own. Being able to nuke bosses in Space Marine 2 is probably like the single most important thing in the entire game, because 90% of team deaths are going to come from a boss spawn, Hellbrutes and stuff like that, triple Hellbrutes, triple Carnifex, Neurothrope, and double Carnifex. These are the hardest encounters Space Marine 2 can really offer you, and the fact that he allows you to just eliminate them instantaneously almost with like a coordination coordinated team is godly. On top of that, he has the greatest selection of ranged weapons in the entire game. He has access to a chainsword and a combat knife, block chainsword being one of the better melee weapons in the game as well. And on top of all of that, he also has an incredible ammo economy. Tactical really is just like that guy as far as like a team support goes. He really does play more like a support than like a proper solo character. In true solo, he is very squishy. This guy doesn't really have any damage reduction perks, but he doesn't really need them when he has such an amazing impact as a team component. And even if your tactical is dead and has the team perk secure stockpile, he will still be having more impact than most classes will in like their entirety. Really powerful guy. Tactical really is just S tier in my opinion. So that's where I'm going to put him right here because he just goes into any team comp perfectly. Now, speaking of fitting into a team comp perfectly, the next class here is Heavy. Now, Straben is that guy. This class is ridiculously tanky for how much damage he can actually put out. He has incredible team perks like Encompassing Aegis, and even additional supplies is pretty good for more ammo for your team. He has perks like Restoration for built-in armor restore into like any combination for his build whatsoever. And on top of that, pretty much every single ranged weapon this guy has is a top-tier gun. Heavy Bolter is like one of the best bolt weapons in all Space Marine 2. The Rate of Fire Plasma Incinerator, the ammo version of the Plasma Incinerator, are top tier guns. They do stupid amounts of AoE damage. The Heroic Heavy Plasma has a ridiculous damage output as well. They even nerfed the Multi-Melta, and it is still an S tier gun because previously in patch 10.0, the Multi-Melta would be able to shoot twice off of like a heavy stance and a hip fire shot. There was no cooldown between the shots. It did actually nerf that in patch 11.0, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask. But even with that nerf, the Multi-Melta is still a top-tier gun for pretty much all content in this game. It is kind of hilarious how strong the Heavy is at times. He is held back by a balanced parry window. Having a balanced parry window on him does kind of suck ass because that will just like straight up kill you at times. But even with that, he is still a top-tier class. He goes into like any team comp at all in this game as like an amazing damage dealer, and he is part of the best team comp in the entire game in my opinion, which is a Heavy, Bulwark, and Tactical, because these guys just have incredible synergy. And his team perk Encompassing Aegis, giving you a 25% range damage reduction for your whole team, that is godly. This guy grants damage reduction to a Tactical that usually has none, and also an Assault that usually has to work for damage reduction. This guy just gives it to everybody for free. Pretty insane, pretty incredible class. And even the Heavy Bolt Rifle, that's his worst gun, is still better than like 90% of other weapons that you could get on other classes for bolt options. So amazing class, S tier for sure. I would put him above Tactical a little bit. If we're talking about like overall team impact, I would say the Tactical is better just because of Auspex and secure stockpile. But the thing about Heavy is that Heavy can like carry teams that don't know what they're doing pretty easily. This guy requires you to be far more coordinated. So Heavy definitely goes into the top spot of S tier. Top tier class for sure. Straben is just that guy. I don't think most people are going to disagree with this because Heavy is glazed to shit in this game. Some people think he's the best class in the entire game currently. I wouldn't go that far. I do think our next class will be better than him. But, you know, for now, he's still very powerful for sure. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this guy. Now, next up, we have the Bulwark class. Now, Bulwark is fucking Timothy. This class has ridiculous damage reduction, ridiculous amounts of damage with the block fist, on top of healing, on top of armor for your whole team, on top of, you know, advanced conditioning for 50% slower CHP fade for your entire team, on top of perks like Intimidating Aura that can wipe out bosses like the Vortex Beast, all on their own purely off of parries. He is simply insane. The Bulwark also has 100% range damage reduction with his shield at all times pretty much on like 90% of his builds. Even the Thunder Hammer is better on him than it is on the Assault class currently in my opinion. And really, he is just ridiculous. Even his Prestige perk tree is built different. He has amazing ammo economy thanks to Auxiliary Reload in the Prestige perk tree. He also has Overcharge built in as a Prestige perk. He can also get full CDR off of blocking shots with the Masterful Defense Prestige perk. This guy really is just him. Bulwark is fucking insane in Space Marine 2. He is by far the best class in my opinion. The fact that he can pretty much just do anything, there is nothing that Bulwark struggles with in this game. The only thing that like holds this class back from being like the absolute S tier of all content in Space Marine 2 is that he doesn't have like the fastest clear of any class in the game. Like Multi-Melta can clear out things a little bit faster than him at times. Even the Assault can clear out things thanks to like Zealous Blow and Ground Pound. But even with that, his like sustain and ability to do Nova damage with things like the Power Fist are ridiculous. He is also able to perfectly animation cancel anything, and having an animation cancel like that is nuts. I mean, guys, There is a reason the Bulwark is like one of the only classes in this game that's gone to like true solo hard stratagems and come out pretty easily versus like increased extremis spawns on Chaos. He is fucking nuts. He is simply the guy. Bulwark is the best class in Space Marine 2. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to do that on any class in this game. He really is just that strong, and I don't think most people would disagree. He's S tier. Maybe some people would put him like below the below the heavy class here, but to be honest, he just does too much. And like I'm surprised they haven't nerfed him yet, but to be honest, like they probably never will. They just love this class, and that seems to be the case. Now, patch 11.0 also buffed up the power axe on the block version to have access to power stance and also moved around the perk tree a bit, and that was already the best scaling weapon for his shield bash build, and the shield bash build does a ridiculous amount of damage better, so he's definitely up here for sure. Now the next class we have, or the final class, is Vanguard. Now, Vanguard got some pretty major buffs in the PTS and patch 11.0. They made the diving kick damage scaling your difficulty. Now, unfortunately, his new perk Tenacity no longer procs the double damage on Shockwave it did in the PTS. If it did, I would easily put him in S tier because that was a ridiculous amount of damage. It was super fun to use too. I wish they kept it there, to be honest, because, I mean, even with that, I don't think he would be like the top tier class in the entire game. I still think Bulwark and Heavy would be better than him, but either way, Vanguard is incredibly powerful this patch. He has access to healing for your entire team, and also his team perk for healing is in some ways better than Invigorating Icon for pubs because random players don't have to do anything. They have to like sit down by your banner or anything like that. They'll just like kill an extremis and get their HP back. That is way easier for playing with randoms at times, so some people may prefer that. He also has access to the new Instigator Bolt Carbine on the Heroic version. That weapon is super good for him because the close range and medium range weapons is like where he excels. It's like his whole thing. And to be honest, I'm just going to put him in a very high A here because he has way more build variety than he used to. The only thing he's like really struggling on still is ammo economy, but like to be honest, that's like pretty much half the classes in this game at this point. And for the most part, I think Vanguard is in a great spot. If you want to move him up to like a low S, you definitely could for like the healing capabilities on top of CDR. The perk Inner Fire is an incredible perk as well, and now with this new build variety, he can take Adrenaline Rush to heal himself on top of giving cooldown to his whole team, and he just feels way better this patch, to be honest. Like, he's no longer stuck in Zone of Impact Tactical Prowess Purgatory. He now has access to like probably 4 times as many builds, or like I should say equally powerful, so I would put him in a very high A, and like maybe you can move Assault above him a little bit, but I would say these two are pretty equivalent. They're definitely better at like different things compared to each other because Assault is able to do incredible amounts of Nova damage. I'm not sure if Vanguard could reach like the same level of Siege mode that the Assault could, but he is very, very strong even through solo. It just feels way better this patch, and that's pretty much all I have to say about him. And that is the patch 11.0 class tier list, guys. There are definitely some things you change around. You know, when it comes to overall impact, there are so many scenarios in Space Marine 2 where certain classes will outperform them, that some things are just better in other scenarios than others. But like, you know, if you want to put up the Vanguard to S, or you want to put like the Sniper into the top A, you definitely can make an argument for that. Now, as far as the Vanguard is concerned, I think this class is just way more fun to play than he was last patch. He has so many more options for build variety. The new heroic weapons are really fun to use on him. Also, the Power Gladius buff has a great synergy with him on his perfect dodge build pump reactions, and overall, I think all the classes are really fun to play right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How would you rank all the classes in Space Marine 2 patch 11.0? And as always, thank you for watching. If you like content like this, subscribe for more. Take it easy. Bye.